This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted. Now, you might say to yourself, why do you care about a story like this? But this right here is exactly how they manufacture the news. This is how they tell you that all these stories that are out there about these politicians and all of the drama surrounding them is all to get you emotionally invested into what's going on, and that is Sabotage 101. Eric Adams is not being indicted, just like Donald Trump is not being indicted. This is a show to make you think that some of these people are ruffling the feathers of the deep state, and this is so over the top obvious and so clear as to how fake this is, and it lines up exactly 1 year to the day that Eric Adams was announced as a master mason at the Gracie Mansion, which is where he lives. So they did this ritual in the home he resides in, but that's not a surprise because all of these offices like the White House or these homes that these mayors and governors live in, the governor's mansions, etc., all have Masonic lodges inside of them for them to perform these rituals. And of course, just like the windows at every Freemason lodge that exists, there are no real windows. You can't really see inside at what is actually going on, especially in those rooms that the rituals are occurring. Now, before I get into more detail here, I have to let you know I have a really important video going up that's going to blow your mind on Bill Gates. And I've been covering a lot lately because Bill is back in the spotlight talking about his Netflix documentary. He's obviously at the United Nations right now, peddling sustainable, and that's not even what the video is about, because we all know what Bill Gates is doing, but you got to see the reference to hot dogs that he was making on the Stephen Colbert show. For anyone out there that doesn't know, I'll explain in the video about this, but my point is that the video is available, or going up, I should say, over on my Hurting Humanity channel. The reason it's going up over there is that there's a really good chance it gets a strike, and I have to play my channels where if one channel has a strike, I got to go into a different channel, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a really good chance that it gets a strike because it's referencing, he's laughing openly, and they're promoting him eating hot dogs in New York, and they're not promoting it for any reason other than the obvious, because they communicate this way, and they rub it in your faces. It's not because Bill loves hot dog the foods. Remember, Bill's trying to get you plant-based food. It's because Bill loves what hot dogs stand for. And if you don't know anything about that, if you don't know how they use food as symbols and codes for something else, well, you need to learn about it, because this is how they get away with it in plain sight. This is how you can see all these celebrities doing the milk mustache or eating ice cream, making provocative messaging through food, always eating pizza. Well, Bill's going to be eating hot dogs and talking about how much ketchup he put on it. So subscribe now. Pause the video. Make sure you're double check over on Hurting Humanity, because that video is probably going to get removed by the end of the day by YouTube. I'd be surprised if it doesn't, but I'm hoping because that channel is relatively new, it could stay up and go unnoticed. So make sure you subscribe to that channel now. You've got to see how in our faces this is. And of course, Bill, in addition to talking about hot dogs, goes on to talk about getting certain things inside your food. You won't believe some of the stuff he's discussing. So that's over on Hurting Humanity. Subscribe now if you haven't yet. So Mayor Adams, again, was declared a master mason. Now, he was already a Freemason. But what I'm starting to think is, because when they released that about him becoming a master mason, the first thing I thought to myself is, well, why are they announcing this? Why is this in the newspaper? Why are we taking pictures and then showing it? Are they rubbing this in our faces? Or is something going to eventually occur? And I believe, obviously, everything that makes the news is done by design. These people who do these secret rituals and become initiated in secret societies, this does not become national news. This does not make the newspaper, unless, of course, they want it to, right? Otherwise, every day we'd have a story about a senator, a mayor, a president, a CEO of a corporation being initiated in Freemasonry, right? So what this makes me think is that they set this whole thing up to victimize Mayor Adams as somebody who's outwardly a Freemason, mainly because think about how much has come out over the last 8 to 10 years about Freemasonry, specifically from channels like mine and bigger ones of people that sounded a lot like me who have exposed Freemasonry, gotten eyeballs on Freemasonry, gotten eyeballs on Eastern Star, gotten eyeballs on the DMLA, which are the Children's Mail Order of Freemasonry, got eyes on the Job's Daughter and the Rainbow Girls, these secret societies, so people can start understanding how they work and how they're untouchable. Right? So what does this do? Well, if they're announcing that Mayor Adams is a Freemason, they're saying Mayor Adams is a Freemason, so everyone's going, see, it's another Freemason, it's another, and then all of a sudden he becomes victimized in the public eye. Well, it kind of discredits a lot of the stuff that we've all been saying, right? They go, oh, wow, well, Mayor Adams, I guess, isn't toting the company line. I guess he's really against the deep state, right? Well, you wouldn't even know that Mayor Adams was a Freemason unless they wanted you to know. And he wasn't just announced as a Master Mason. It wasn't like that ritual occurred and he was suddenly a Master Mason. You aren't becoming the mayor unless you're already a 33rd degree Freemason. You aren't becoming what he was in the police force unless you're a high-ranking Freemason. So he was already in. So they obviously did that deliberately and put that out there. And I think right now we're starting to see why they did it, because they're victimizing him, right? Remember, they victimize certain groups and certain people out in public so that you don't question them, so that you don't go after them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Freemasons come out more and more and talk about how they donate, all they do with their time is give to the Shriners Hospital, the Children's Hospital. That's all they care about. And all these conspiracy nuts are making their lives difficult, right? Kind of like those people, well, you can see on your screen, right? Mayor Adams, I mean, he's very close with another group of people. You can see his six-pointed star on his outfit, right? And, of course, he recently went over to Israel, even touched the wall, wore the little hat on his head. That's a group of people that you also cannot question, and he seems affiliated with them. And, of course, if you understand Freemasonry, it's all tied together. The things that they really are. See, the common misconception is that this specific group of people who reside in Israel read the Old Testament, right? That's what most people think. And they're like, well, they're aligned with us. They're aligned with Christians because the New Testament talks about Israel being God's people, right? They have no idea that they don't even, not only do they not read the Old Testament, they have their own books that literally are the Babylonian teachings, which have some of those graphic, disturbing things inside of it, including, of course, mocking our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But Christians think that they're supposed to be aligned with them. So my point being is that that's a specific group you can't question. Well, now all of a sudden we have Freemasonry. They're telling us, almost gaslighting us by telling me he's a Freemason. And a year to the day, I mean, that's really something to take note of. September 25th, he's indicted. September 25th, the New York Post releases this news article about him becoming a Master Mason, right? So I know some will say it's a humiliation, that they're just humiliating Eric Adams out in the open. And I think that's an easy way to look at things and just dismiss it when a Mason is humiliated out in public. This isn't humiliating. These people do not care about fake indictments. This is deeper than that. And now they're trying to make it seem like, oh my gosh, Mayor Adams, this Mason, I guess he turned on him. He's against the deep state, right? Because the narrative that is circulating, that's what you always have to look at, right? What are people saying about why Mayor Adams is indicted? He's a Democrat, right? So what do all the conservatives say? Well, because he's starting to speak out against the migrant influx and the border crisis, now they're turning on Mayor Adams. So Mayor Adams wouldn't be speaking the way he's speaking out in public unless they wanted him to do it. Remember, the design here with all of these Democrats in power is sabotage. Sabotage can come in a lot of different ways, right? They've been sabotaging in Democrat cities like New York, Chicago, LA. What have they been doing? They've been allowing criminals to run amok, slapping them on the wrist. They're actually paying criminals off to do things in New York, like punch random people in the face, and then they don't go to prison for it. Okay, it's very clear that that's what they're doing. It's like the old Phoenix Rising model, right? Remember, they have to destroy it to rebuild it. It's the Phoenix rising from the ashes. So they're all doing.
Want to get paid today? Same. The earn-in app gets you paid as you work. Doing
their part. And I want to play for you this clip as well, because this really summarizes the state of affairs that we have, right? Mayor Adams was speaking and even referencing himself as Jesus. He brought up how everybody's coming after him and Jesus flipped the table, and he flipped the table just like Jesus at City Hall. He flipped the tables upside down, comparing himself to Jesus. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this not just because these people are blasphemous, but this is how Freemasons operate. Freemasons literally believe that they're gods. That's what they're taught. That's what they're told. Here's Mayor Adams out in the open. Of course, keep in mind how he speaks openly about how he just hired all people of color, all Hispanics, That's what he did when he got into office. He's changed the way things function, right? By bringing in all people who are black and all people who are Hispanic. And of course, this is just really summarizes what's been going on, right? They've really been gaslighting people with this diversity, equity, and equality, inequality nonsense that they spew out of their mouths. And that goes right in line with the hate speech laws that they put in place. So while these people are sabotaging the United States of America, you're not allowed to question it, because they automatically will just call you racist when they're deliberately sabotaging, and people can't get past that barrier. And somehow Democrats repeat those talking points instead of seeing that these people are deliberately being put in power in Chicago and New York, etc., and they're sabotaging the government, and then they're praising themselves for hiring people of color instead of people who are qualified, who could be of any color. They could be black qualified, they could be Hispanic qualified, they could be white qualified. It doesn't matter. The whole point is that they're supposed to function as a government, and they're not.
Hello, Moto.
Not trying to function as a government. They're trying to sabotage it. And that's why Masons like Mayor Adams have been put in these positions. But here he is referencing himself pretty much as Jesus.
Stand up. They need to see you. Deputy Mayor Williams Ison, Deputy Mayor Mira Josie, Deputy Mayor Amazon, Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer. Have you ever seen...
Hello, Moto.
Clearly trained talkers. Nobody talks.
this much chocolate leading the city of New York?
This must be funny.
And then go down the line. Look who's here. This is representative of the city. That's why people are hating on me. You trying to figure out
this race
why they hating on me? They hating on me because those who... How many of you go to church? Man, this is a Matthew 21 and 12 moment. Jesus walked in the temple. He saw them doing wrong in the temple. He did what? He turned the table. I went to City Hall and turned the table over. First woman police commissioner of color. First Spanish-speaking police commissioner. First Spanish-speaking correction commissioner.
The same concept.
Go through the line of what we're doing.
So again, I mean, these people out in the open, they don't hide their affiliation to who they're associated with, right? We can always see through signs and symbols. I mean, obviously one of the other things with him that's out there is his, giving a key to the city to Puff Daddy or P. Diddy, right? And I covered P. Diddy as well over on my Hurting Humanity channel, holding up the pyramid sign together. So it's very clear that Mayor Adams is one of them. He's not gone rogue. He's not turned on them. This is no different than Donald Trump. The indictments are fake, right? These people would be taken out if they were actually trying to expose anyone. And they wouldn't have been put at this stage in the game. They wouldn't put anybody in power who couldn't be trusted. None of these people who are in power are somebody who just became a Freemason. And now he sees what it is. He's going to turn his back on it. Oh, Donald Trump, he's not one of them. At this stage in 2024, where they're moving towards Agenda 2030, which a lot of us believe is Agenda 2025 now, none of them are turning their backs on the secret societies, on the cabal, okay? Period. So this is part of the show. And this isn't a humiliation ritual in my belief. Looking at it, what this is we've been getting, gaslit since they told us openly that he's a Freemason. They tell us openly he's a Freemason. Now, of course, he's being victimized, right? And it's confusing people. It's blurring the lines because now people are going, oh, wait, Mayor Adams is a Freemason. Well, maybe not all Freemasons are bad. Maybe some of these Freemasons, have conservative ideologies, right? They don't want conservatives out there to wake up to Freemasonry, their connection to the cabal, none of it. They don't want them to wake up to any of the stuff with secret societies. They want them to believe, hey, you could be a Freemason and a Christian, and that's not true at all. They tell you that stuff because that's how they get away with this out in the open. They go, well, there's a lot of Christians in Freemasonry, a lot of fake Christians in Freemasonry. They adopt different, like they become Lutheran and stuff when they join Freemasonry to have a cover, right? Because remember, they're told you can only join Freemasonry if you believe in a higher power. You can't join if you're an atheist, right? So they have to play out in the open that they're Lutheran or Catholic, and that's what they do. But they're taught as they go through Freemasonry that Lucifer's God. That is who they all worship. Nobody gets to be a 33rd degree Freemason and goes, well, I'm a 33rd degree Mason, but Jesus Christ is king. None of them do, okay? It doesn't work like that. You don't graduate and move up the ladder in Freemasonry if you believe Jesus is Christ. You just don't. They believe Jesus is the enemy, Okay, and then they use Jesus' name outwardly like he did in that clip to make people out there think, oh, he reads the Bible, he's a Christian and a Freemason. And look, they're turning on him and he supports Israel, right? See how it all lumps together? Oh, he supports Israel, he's now being attacked. Trump supports Israel, he's now being attacked, right? And they all pretend to be Christian out in the open when they're not. They're not. You don't become a Freemason and make it all the way to the level of Eric Adams and not worship Lucifer. Okay, there might be people, I'm not saying that somebody hasn't signed up, made it to a second or third degree and never went back, but you're in it for life and you got to pay your dues, you have to pay your fees every year for life. But there are people who become a third degree, then they learn what's actually going on. They go, I don't want any part of this. Well, guess what? You signed up, you're in. And while some of these people, because I've heard people like, I've joined it, and I don't believe them. I don't trust a word that comes out of any of these people's mouths. But there are people who, they don't join it and automatically become a 33rd degree Mason. You have to work at it. You have to go through the rituals. That's what they are. Their ceremonies are rituals. They're sick rituals. They're embarrassing rituals. But that's what they have to do. And there's people who join and then eventually just go, hey, I thought it was like a frat. And they find out what it is, and they still have to be a part of it. But they're told, hey, you ever go tell anybody about this stuff, we'll come for you. They get gang stalked. They get watched. And they still pay their fees, so they're still technically associated with it for their entire lives. There's no getting out once you get in. That's legit. The only way out is death. Just ask Mozart. So, Mayor Eric Adams, this is a charade. The fact that the dates line up September 25th with the story about Freemasonry, with the day of him being indicted, that tells you all you need to know. Because we know that they use numerology. We know that this stuff is only put out if they want it out. Because otherwise, like I said earlier, there'd be an article every day about a politician who's a Freemason. But they all are initiated before they become politicians. That's another thing that they probably wanted to blur the lines with by putting that article out. Because I've said for years about how all these people are Freemasons first. They're high-ranking Freemasons if they're put in positions of mayor, governor, senator, etc., right? So that whole story kind of made people go, oh, he just became a Mason while he's the mayor. No, he wouldn't have become the mayor if he wasn't already. And they wouldn't be posing openly for those photos unless they wanted you to see it, because everything they do, for the most part, is done in secret. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please right now, if you haven't yet, subscribe to Hurting Humanity, as well as Nations Conspire, my 2 channels linked below. The video on Gates is likely going up on Hurting Humanity today, but if I struggle to get it up on that channel, I'll put it up on Nations Conspire. So just make sure you're subbed to all of them if you like my content, because there's a good chance you'll be looking for me again one day and you won't be able to find me because I'll have a new name. So that's how this whole thing works, but you don't want to miss that video on Gates. Thanks again, everybody. Don't fall for the media's deceptions. God bless all of you and your families as always.